As you've been hearing in the news this lunchtime, a leading Catholic priest has said he will withdraw engagement with groups from the gay community here until the right of all people to freedom of conscience is respected. Father Tim Bartlett was responding to an Equality Commission decision to take a civil action against a Christian-owned bakery firm. You'll remember that earlier this year, Asher's Baking Company refused to bake a cake with a pro-gay marriage slogan on it. We did ask Father Tim Bartlett to join us today. He's unable to do so, but we do have Peter Tatchell from the well-known human rights campaigner and Peter Lynas from the Evangelical Alliance. Two Peters, but we won't get you confused with that for too long. Good afternoon. Welcome to both of you. First of all, Peter Lynas, before we get into the issues around this, Tim Bartlett's response to this developing saga is to say, I'm walking away from gay campaign groups, the gay community itself, until something happens. Is that how you should respond to this situation?
Well, William, I understand Tim's frustration. In fact, I've just come from a meeting with a leader or member, really, of the community, the LGBT community, and it wouldn't be our approach. I don't think...
You're not walking away?
I don't think the community is responsible for this decision. It's the Commission's decision, and some may support it and some may actually not, and some have raised concerns, as I understand it, about the case the Commission is taking. So my frustration is with the Commission and, of course, the legal framework on which they're based. So that won't be our approach, but I understand Tim's frustration.
But that's an implied criticism of his approach. He's actually targeting the wrong people in responding.
Well, as I say, I haven't spoken to Tim about it. That's the first I've heard it. I understand his frustration, as I said. That wouldn't be our approach, and Tim, of course, is entitled to take it in perhaps a different direction. But I think that my frustration, I can say, is with the Commission and the kind of decision that they've made on this. And I think it's enlarged the grounds under which they're going to take a case. And I think it's actually very worrying, not just for Christians, but for a much wider group of people. I think they're really going at the very fabric of our society. I mean, this is about religious and political freedom now.
It's about a cake.
Well, that's the frustrating thing. It was, and it started about a cake. But what has happened is, since the first decision, and people may not get this, it was firstly said to be discrimination on the grounds of sexual orientation. I disagree with that, but I think there's at least a discussion to be had. But now they're saying this is now about religious and political freedom. This is an attempt to privatise religion, to say you can't bring your religion into the workplace, and the Commission will decide which political and which religious views are acceptable and which are not. And that is deeply troubling. And I actually hope gay rights campaigners, all the political parties, will get behind this and say this is a step too far. No matter your views on gay marriage, you shouldn't be allowed to do what the Commission is now doing.
So, Peter Tatchell, what looks like a storm in a teacup in a bakery turns out to be a great assault on democratic values, according to Peter Lynas.
Well, of course, I don't think anybody would want it to have gone this far. But I think Father Tim Bartlett is very wrong to walk away, because it's precisely this controversy, this disagreement, that requires dialogue, not disengagement. So his walking away, I don't think, helps the situation at all. But it's also very wrong for him to portray this as an issue of religious freedom. It's actually an issue of the right to discriminate. Should a baker or any other person or organisation providing a public service, should they be allowed to discriminate against other people by not providing a service? And I would say to Christians who are listening, if a gay baker refused to bake a cake with a Christian message on it, I would believe that they should be prosecuted, because that would be anti-Christian discrimination. So what I'm saying is, all discrimination is wrong. If you want to live in a cohesive society, we all have to acknowledge the moral obligation, the legal obligation on those who provide public services to not discriminate against others.
These, of course, are private services, Peter, aren't they?
Well, no, the bakery is offering a public service. It's serving.
But it's a private commercial arrangement, isn't it, when someone walks in and purchases a cake?
No, a bakery is like any other commercial enterprise offering a public service. It's providing a service to the public, and that is defined in law as a public service. Nobody, whether they are a public institution, a governmental institution, or a private business, is allowed to discriminate against other people. And that's quite right, because once you allow one group to discriminate, where does it end?
Peter Lynas, you've just heard Peter Tatchell saying if there was discrimination by a gay baker, a gay baking company, if there is such a thing anywhere here, against a Christian church or a Christian group, he would be up for them being challenged for that. Why aren't you also concerned about discrimination here?
I think this is where Peter Tatchell and I agree in terms of what the legislation, it is designed to prevent discrimination. I absolutely agree, but there's three grounds they've set out. The first is to say it was on sexual orientation. The Ashers didn't know the sexual orientation of the person coming in. They discriminated against an idea and not a person, and you are allowed to discriminate against an idea. You're not allowed to discriminate against a person, and I entirely agree, but they didn't know anything about the person who came in. Secondly, then they said that now this is a political discrimination. So now this organisation, the Commission, which itself has taken a political view on this issue of gay marriage and supports it, so it's no longer a neutral institution, is saying that it will interfere about political decisions. And finally, they said because the Ashers said that it was their religious or their faith that had motivated the decision, not anything to do with the person who came in their religion. Of course, if they had said, because of this person's religion, I'm not giving them a cake, that would have been entirely wrong, as Peter said in his example.
So just to test that point, Peter Lynas, if a gay couple had gone into this bakery and they're saying we're having a civil partnership and this is a wedding cake we're looking for, and they were turned away because the bakery refused to do gay wedding cakes, you would be up for that being a prosecution issue?
If they turned them away because they were gay and said, we don't serve gay people, that is entirely inappropriate.
If they turned them away and said, we don't do gay wedding cakes because we have a view on homosexuality, would you say that was unacceptable?
Well, that's where it gets grey, because that's about the idea that's on the cake. So if the person came in and asked for a bun, asked for a cake, asked for anything, and they said, we're not serving you because you're gay, that is entirely inappropriate.
Well, we're not serving you because we're not making you a gay wedding cake.
So, but if the message...
Take that example. What would you do in that case?
Let's just... To step it back a second, the Ashers have turned down rude and nude cakes motivated by their faith.
I understand that, but you're avoiding this case study I'm giving you. If the company turns down a gay couple's request to make a wedding cake for them, would that be discrimination?
So if it's because the people are gay, then that is discrimination. That's legislation I support it. If they find the idea wrong, then they should be allowed to discriminate on the basis of the idea. That is, and to say, because they mentioned their faith, not the person coming in. Remember, so this is where the religious discrimination point comes, and I would expect Peter Tatchell to be on board with me. The person didn't mention their religion because the Ashers said, because of our beliefs, and everybody has beliefs, everybody has ideas, we don't want to do this thing. They're now being forced to do something, and we're seeing discrimination because it's motivated by faith.
We've got time, don't worry, you don't need to rush it. We've got time to talk. Peter Lynas is from Evangelical Alliance. The human rights campaigner Peter Tatchell is with us as all. We're taking your calls as ever.
On 08459 555 678. Tweet at BBC Talkback. Text 81771.
Jan, good afternoon to you. Hi, Jan.
I just think, all right, I'm very well. I just think that if I had a shop and I didn't want somebody in it because they wanted some particular thing like that wrote on a wedding cake, I would not have served them, because there's plenty of other shops. If somebody refused me that they weren't going to bake my wedding cake, I'd say, well, that's okay. Thank you very much.
I'll go somewhere else.
I would go somewhere else and shut up about it. I mean, they're just looking for money for nothing. That's all they're doing. It's just like everybody else now. They're jumping on the bandwagon.
Who's looking for money?
These people who want to take this into court.
It's the Equality Commission. It's the Equality Commission's taking civil action here. Well, it's not an individual bringing a case.
They don't know much about what they're doing anyway, either. I'll tell you that, because if somebody told me they couldn't make a cake, I'd say thank you very much, but look, I can go somewhere else.
Let's get a response to that for you, Jan, from Peter Tatchell.
Yeah.
Well, of course, people can go somewhere else, but I think the principle is still very important. Once you allow people to discriminate on one grounds, then you establish a principle which can be exploited by others. And of course, in the north of Ireland, with its long sectarian history, we don't want to open the door where, loyalists can discriminate against nationalists or, Republicans.
I don't think what you're saying is right, because you're just talking about somebody who doesn't know Northern Ireland. That's what I'm saying to you now.
He's making an analogy, Jan.
I don't care what he's making. I'm just telling him, this is not England he's in. This is Northern Ireland.
Well, we understand that, but he's still entitled to make a point. Peter, make your point.
Yes, he can make his point, all right.
Going back to the example of a Christian going into a shop and wanting the cake to say, praise the Lord, and maybe have a Bible quote. Well, let's say the bakers were Muslims or Jews. I don't think they should be able to turn around and say, well, we don't believe in Christianity, we disagree with Christianity, we're not prepared to make this cake and to put that message on it. I think as people providing a public service, they should have a duty providing the message is lawful. And in the case of the pro-gay marriage slogan and the case of a praise the Lord slogan, both are lawful.
Jan, thank you very much. Margaret's up next. Hi, Margaret.
Hello.
Margaret, what do you think of this?
I just can't believe that Peter Tatchell could come on with that, because if I wanted a cake with a biblical translation on it or something like that, I most certainly wouldn't go to a Muslim shop, nor would I go to a Jewish shop, nor would I go in and be very cross if a shop that's Jewish or Muslim will not serve me pork. I think this is up in the air and it's money for old rope. And again, I think whether you're a Protestant, whether you're a Catholic, you have to be a Christian to see it. And the Roman Catholics and the Protestants all feel the same way about Asher's cakes. And I most certainly will be buying Asher cakes at every turn that I'm going to buy.
Margaret, thank you very much. We're out of time, unfortunately. Thanks to Peter Lynas from the Evangelical Alliance and to the human rights campaigner Peter Tatchell. A couple of other people saying in text, actually, it's terrific advertising, isn't it, for Asher's Bakery, whatever else you say about this.